All right, Keller ISD, thank you for joining us today. We're here doing our Kickstart Your Learning event. You're not going to believe what we're going to cover today. It's going to be amazing. We're going to blow your mind because it's called Mind Blowing Mac Tips with Mark and Company. And I'll tell you who Mark and Company are in just a second. You probably figured out that Snowvid could not keep us down, that although we were snowed in for that week, and some of you without water, some of you without power, some of you without both, we are here today with power and lights and ready to go. So I'm so glad we were able to reschedule this because I know a lot of you have new Macs, or maybe you're transitioning from the Windows environment to the Mac environment and you want to learn more. So that's what we're here for today. I want to introduce our guests, our speakers. My name is Sarah Smith. I'm a facilitator here in educational technology in Keller. We have a Mark Sample. He is our endpoint infrastructure analyst. Mark, you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
And Mark doesn't get to do this very often, so we're really, really blessed to have him with us. We have Michelle McConaughey from Betty Perot Elementary School.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you, Michelle, for taking time out from your busy, busy day and being with us. We also have Brittany Willis. She's a teacher at Independence here today.
Hi, everybody.
And we have Tony Marino, Christy Harold, and Laura Gonzalez. They are facilitators, and they are going to help us in the chat. So please reach out to them if you're watching and you have your chat there on the sidebar. So, and speaking of the chat window, I'm going to tell you how to get there. So, a couple of logistics here. Many of you have been with us before and you've done this, so you can just hang tight. But if you're not seeing a chat window where you can type, a message in and converse with us, what you need to do is create a channel. So because we're using YouTube, all you have to do is click your avatar in the top right-hand corner and then click on the words "Your Channel." And then just click that button that says create channel. That way you can have a channel and you're able to converse with us and engage in the learning. Then you're just going to return back to www.kellerisd.net/kickstart, back to where you were. So we're going to give you just a second to do that. Most of you have been with us before and have done that. So if you're already seeing a chat window, don't worry about these steps. You've already done them at some point. So let's just real quickly talk about those of you that are here and would like some EQ credit. We always love to give EQ credit. We ask that you please watch the entire event. We are going from 4:30 to 5:15 today. And we would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat window, where you're from, what you teach, why you're here. We always love to kind of get to know our audience, see who's here. And then at some point, we're going to ask a couple of questions, but at some point, please engage in the learning. Let us know what you like. Let us know what's going to be helpful. Ask questions. We want to hear from you guys. And then at the end of our training today, we're going to provide a link to a form. And if you will just fill that out, then we will award credit in the next day or two. So that's all the logistics I can think of. Make sure, though, if you want to come back, or let's say this is helpful and you want to share it with a colleague later, you direct the colleague or direct those that you would like to share this with to our Kickstart webpage, because after today's live event, we redirect it to the entire playlist of past Kickstart events. So we have a lot of things, a lot of Google trainings, a lot of things that will help teachers like screencasting, a lot of content out there. So please check that out. All right. Without further ado, our first speaker is Michelle, and she's here from Betty Perot. So Michelle, I'm going to let you start by sharing your favorite Mac tips. And I know I've already seen this, you guys. We had a run through. They're going to blow your mind. They're going to be amazing and super helpful. So Michelle, I'll let you share your screen.
All right. Thank you so much. So I have loved having my Mac in my second grade classroom this year. And on the way, I've discovered some things that I would like to share. And the first thing I'd like to share, I think is a handy one, and that is print to save. So when I open a document, or it could even be a web-based document, and it's in a different file format, I can save it as a PDF. So right here, I have our second grade district file review. But maybe I need to give a portion of it, not the whole document, but a portion of it to a parent, or maybe I'm going to load it on Google Classroom. So I bring up the document, and then I go up here to the top left-hand corner, and I go to File, and then I scroll down until I get to Print, and I click that, and of course it brings up your normal print window, like that we're used to seeing, like if we could secure print it. But let's say I only want them to have pages 3 to 5. So I'm going to click that. And maybe I'm trying to conserve paper, so I can change the layout, and I can put 2 pages per sheet. And so I've got this document that I can upload to Seesaw or Google Classroom. And I can do that by going down here to the bottom left, clicking the PDF, and then I want to save as a PDF. And it's going to ask me, do I want to rename it? So I could do questions 3 through 5. And I can change where I want to save it. So if I want to save it on my desktop or somewhere else, and I push save, and now that appears on my desktop, just the part that I wanted. So just those pages that I needed to send. And I love changing the layout to save paper too. Some other handy tips that I use are different keyboard shortcuts. And so I listed my top favorite 5 here. The one that I actually use the most is my emoji keyboard. So you're going to need the command key, which is located on either side of your space bar, and you often use the control key too. So if I want to put an emoji in any document or even like text box, I can push Control Command Spacebar, and it brings up my emoji keyboard. And also be sure to click this arrow down here because you've got lots of more options too. I use this a lot when I go onto Seesaw, and when you make comments to your kids, they love seeing emojis. So I just Control Command Shift, and I can give them a emoji and tell them that they did a great job. Some of my other favorite ones are scrolling to the top or the bottom. This is really helpful when you have like a long feed. So if you push Command and arrow up, it takes you straight to the top. If you go Command arrow down, it takes you straight to the bottom. I also love when I need to indent something to make bullet points and indent. This one's really helpful, especially in Gmail. This is a great way to make bullet points in Gmail. So usually if I'm at the end and I hit the return key, it makes a new bullet point, which is great. But let's say I want this one to go back. I would do Command and then the open bracket, and it will take me back. And if I want to indent it further, I go Command and then close bracket, and I can just keep toggling back and forth that way. Another helpful one is zooming in and out. So if I've got some really small things going on, maybe it's a Google Sheets or Apple numbers, and those numbers are really tiny, then I can Command and plus sign, and it's going to make my window larger, or again, you can minus sign, and you can make it smaller. And the one that I use a lot is the undo button. So it's Command Z, and that can just take care of anything. I think sometimes it's easier than trying to find that arrow. My last tip is actually going to be using Preview to edit. So if I want to edit something, quick edit maybe, I would Control click my document, and it brings me up a menu, and then I can open with, and I want to make sure it's Preview, which is probably the default. And it'll open up my document. And then if you go up to the top right hand next to the search bar, you can see your markup. It looks like a pin inside a circle. If you click that, it brings you up some editing options. So I can have a text box like that. And you can change the size of it and, of course, where it's located. You can also change the font if you have a favorite font. And then you can also, you can add some shapes. which I think sometimes is handy. You can sign documents, and you can do you can draw as well. So it gives you a little bit of a drawing tool. Maybe you need to point this to a certain area so your students can see something. Or you can also highlight to bring attention to something. So like if I want to highlight to show them the same strategy, so they will notice that. You have that option as well. I think this is really handy just for quick edits. And then what I love even more is if you go up to the top left-hand corner and go to File, and you scroll down a bit and you go to Export, you can change the file type. So where it says Format, right now it's a PDF, so I could save it as a PDF again. But maybe I need to drop this into Seesaw, and I can change it as a JPEG or another type of file. I use this a lot trying to edit pictures from HEIC to a JPEG. So that's a great option.
Michelle, I was just thinking also with social media, and I haven't figured this out. There may be an answer somewhere out there, but I don't think Twitter likes PDFs. People have sent me PDFs before. So yes, you could change that to a JPEG and then put it in your social media. Obviously not this particular document, but maybe if the right scenario, it would apply. Those were so good. I just said this in the chat. I could not do my job without my emojis. So I'm glad you shared emojis. And I also am glad you shared about the drawing features, because if you've ever had to learn Adobe Professional to do those kinds of things, it's way more complicated. So very, very cool. Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome. Well, if anybody else liked any of those tips, comment in the chat. And while you're doing that, I'm going to send it over to Brittany from Independence to share some more Mac tips.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Those tips were amazing. I cannot wait to try some of them out in Seesaw in my classroom. So thank you for sharing those. I'm going to share some more tips with you guys. I have just a few of my favorites. One of them is in your system preferences. So some of you may have that at the bottom, but you also can get to it by clicking the apple at the top and then opening system preferences. And if you go to your general settings, you have a choice as to what you want your the appearance to be, if you want it to be light or dark, or to change to automatic. This has been so helpful for me. I have mine set to auto. And so when I'm working at night on my computer, the screen is darker so that it doesn't hurt my eyes as much. So I think that's a really awesome little feature that can make a big difference. Another one of my favorite Mac tips is to use, I opened the wrong window, is Michelle uses Preview, and that is amazing. I am a big screenshot girl, so I use screenshots all the time, and there are two different ways that you can take a screenshot. The one that I use the most often is Command-Shift-4, and it brings you up just a little pointer, and you can click and drag the area that you want to take a screenshot of. So you can take a screenshot, and then it saves directly to your desktop so that it's there when you need it. You also can do Command-Shift-5, and that's going to put a box around your screen. And when you do this, you have the option to capture your entire screen, to capture the selected window. So maybe I want to just drag it down and get a certain area. You can do that. And you also have the option to record, which is really cool. So if you wanted to record yourself, maybe reading the problem, and then post that, that would be so, so handy. So that's another one of my favorite things to use. I actually use this all the time. I drop my screenshots right into my emails or in Seesaw. I teach 4th grade, so I use Seesaw all the time. So you can drag and drop it straight from Seesaw or straight from your desktop into Seesaw, and then it just uploads. Same thing from your email. You just drag and drop it, and it's so, so easy. The last tip that I have for you guys is how to split your screen. This has come in handy for me with grading, so that I'm not having to go back and forth between windows. You have at the top of your window, you have a red button, a yellow button, and a green button. If you hover over that green button, you have 3 options. You can enter full screen, tile to the left, or tile to the right. So when you click that, it's going to automatically tile whatever window that you're in to the right of the screen. So then you have the option to split screen between the two, and you can work on putting your grades in. And you can have the grades on one side and Aries on the other, and you're just going back and forth between the two, which is so, so handy so that you're not having to go between different windows. So I have loved using that.
Brittany, I
yes.
wanted to share a little tip alongside yours. The screenshots, you can also drag, and I love this about the Mac, you can drag and drop from the screenshot into Gmail because, our district uses Gmail. And if you do it at the bottom part of the Gmail, it puts it as an attachment. If you do it in the middle, kind of inside the message text, it drops as a picture where the person can see it. Very handy. I love that drag and drop. So thank you for sharing about the screenshots and now the new screen recording. That's exciting.
It is so exciting. It comes in so handy. So those are just my quick tips. And I want you to put in the chat, what is a way that you can use screenshot or screen recording in your classroom? And while you're answering that, I am going to turn it over to Mark.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brittany. Great presentation. And I'll take you right to our Finder window.
Mark, while you're finding that, it sounds like they are loving the shortcuts and especially that edit tool. So girls, they're really liking those. Thank y'all.
So I'll go right into presentation for the Finder. The Finder basically gives us the ability to, and hopefully everyone can see the screen. What the Finder actually does is really important with being able to navigate through the system. And so being able to navigate through the system gives you an advantage on getting to certain things that you want to actually customize and make a little bit easier to reach for yourself. So in order to get to the Finder, one shortcut that I really love is actually holding down the Command key on the left side of the keyboard and using the greater than sign. And that will immediately open up the Finder Preferences window. And in the Finder Preferences window, you can also see that the Finder window defaults to the Macintosh hard drive, which encompasses your entire system. But one of the great things that I found out about Finder Preferences and the Finder windows is that you can actually direct it to the window or folder that you utilize most. So for most teachers, they like to go right to the documents so they can get to content and material that they have for teaching for the day. And others like to go to other areas. So if we're in fine arts, some like to go right to the music folder or the movies folder. So if we basically click on the tab for new Finder windows, we can actually direct this to go to our home folder, which is typically the first thing that happens when you click on the Finder, which is at the very bottom on the left-hand side of your dock. So this is actually the Finder, and the Finder is your gateway basically to everything else. So if we were to, for instance, if we want to go right to the applications folder, we can actually tailor that Finder window to actually go right to applications. You do have an other feature at the bottom, which allows you to navigate directly to that particular area. And then that's the first window that opens, or it's what we call the first point of reference. So you can do that with documents, you can do that with movies, you can do that with pictures and music. Those are great features to be able to utilize from
Mark,
the Finder.
So you're saying if a teacher had like let's say a lesson plans folder inside their documents, they could go there first. That could be the default place that it opens.
That's correct. So
that could save some time.
It could really save a lot of time. And so you just simply click on your new Finder Windows tab, and then you can go directly to the documents folder. And the
Awesome.
first thing that happens when you actually click on the Finder is it gives you reference to the documents folder. So this typically comes up, and I'm not sure exactly why it's not navigating to that now, Sarah. It was working perfectly before, but it actually directs you to your documents folder, and within your documents folder, whatever content that you have there that you want to reference as a first point is really, really handy. So the next thing that I like to talk about with reference to the Finder, and we'll go back there, and I'll go back. Oh, my apologies.
And while he's doing that, the Finder, you guys, if you're a heavy Windows user, maybe you're just now moving over to Mac, it's just like your Windows Explorer. So when you used to click that yellow folder at the bottom of your Windows device, that's kind of what your Finder is on the Mac. It allows you to explore your different folders, your different locations.
Awesome, that's correct. Yes. The sidebar is also a feature that helps you actually turn on features that may not already be turned on your system. So if you navigate to the Finder preferences, again, you can use Command and the greater than sign, and it directs you to the Finder preferences, but you have to manually select the sidebar. So with the sidebar, you can actually turn on your home folder, which is here. It's usually off by default. So if you see this, actually, when you open the Finder preferences, you're actually seeing that these are off by default. Well, Apple actually leaves those off so that you can actually choose the folders and places that you'd like to navigate to. So turning these on, I find very helpful so that you can get to and actually see those items. Lastly, if you have any additional questions with reference to the Finder and other things that may be of benefit while you're teaching, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be glad to share those tips. And so with that, I will turn the rest of the presentation over to Sarah.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. And there's so much about the Finder. It's where all the organization happens, right? I'm going to minimize my slideshow here and show you my favorite things to do on a Mac. And one thing I do want to note about the Finder, one thing I do a lot is I will open up a Finder window, and maybe I have it open to, a documents folder where I have some items. And I might sometimes go to File and open up a new Finder window. So I might have two open at the same time and then do my dragging and dropping and my organizing that way. So hopefully that's helpful. I just had to throw that in. That was for free. That was for free. That wasn't even on the script, right, Mark? We can't help it. We love our Mac tips.
Right, sure.
Okay, some of my favorite customizations. So whenever I'm given a new Mac, maybe I'm transitioning from one to another, the first thing I do are these things that I'm going to show you. So one of the first things I do is I go to the system preferences where Brittany mentioned earlier. It's in the top left corner under the Apple menu. That's kind of like your control panel. It's everything that you want to customize. And by the way, if for some reason, let's say it was here, it was on a particular category, like this is trackpad, all you do is click that back arrow to see everything, and you can see all the categories. I don't know, sometimes that happens to me where I'm not where I'm meant to be. So one of the things you might want to customize is your dock. So your dock is that bottom row of buttons along the bottom of your screen. It may not be on the bottom, and let me show you why. So when I click on dock, I can see that I can adjust the sizing of my dock, and I really don't like it this big. It's pretty big, so I'm going to take it down a notch. And there's things that you can turn on like magnification. Obviously mine was off. That's when I point to my buttons there. And then here's where you can position it on the left, on the bottom, or on the right of your screen. So there's a lot of fun things you can do. I don't do a whole lot here. Those are kind of the main things. And the genie effect is kind of fun. And that's what you saw when I click on something there and hover on it. Okay, so I'm going to go back. A lot of my favorites are actually found in general. So that's that first top left category. And Brittany already talked about her appearance. I know a lot of you are going to the dark mode. So she showed you that already. You can adjust your accent color and your highlight color. I don't usually spend a lot of time there, but one thing that's important to me for some reason is the scroll bars. I like to turn them on. So like if I'm reading a long blog article or I'm scrolling through a website, I can see the scroll bar along the side and I can kind of see, oh, I'm a fourth of the way down, or I'm halfway down, or that's, I've noticed, sometimes turned off when I get a Mac by default. So that's one thing I adjust. Another thing you might want to check and see how it's set for you is the default web browser. Do you want it to be Chrome or Safari or Firefox? So you would click on that. And what that means is, let's say you're in an email and you click on a URL that takes you to a website and you click, the Mac is going to respond to whatever is set here. So if it's set for Chrome, it's going to open Chrome and navigate you to that website. If it's set for Safari, it would do the navigating to Safari. So there's some other things you might want to adjust here, like closing the windows when you quit an app, asking to keep changes, just some little things like that. I don't usually spend a lot of time there. One thing I do is adjust now, depending on what I'm using, if I'm on a desktop, I would adjust the mouse settings. Usually I'm using a mouse connected to a desktop. If I'm on a laptop, I would adjust the trackpad. So kind of depending on which one you're using, would be applicable for you. So what I'm going to do is pull up our slideshow where I have a screenshot of this. That way you can kind of see what it would look like. And I think a lot of you are probably on laptops, so that's why I took some screenshots of the trackpad. But you notice here under the trackpad setting, and there's 3 tabs, so that you definitely want to explore those. But a lot of the time you want to control the gestures. And so that's selected here on this left screen. And what Apple does is if I hover over one of the options, it shows me on the right-hand side a little video of what it's talking about. So like in this example, scroll left or right with 2 fingers would swipe you between open pages. And I am sitting here swiping my fingers like y'all can see me, but you get the idea. Swipe between full screen apps. So that would be, like maybe Google Slides or Google Chrome, and like I know Brittany mentioned Seesaw earlier. So all these things are available to you to either turn off, turn on, and adjust. Now, over here on the right-hand side is, notice over here, it's more gestures. Over on the right, it's point and click. So we've clicked a different tab here to show different options. Point and click has some different options. My main one I want to show you is this secondary click. Secondary click is one of the hardest things to get used to if it doesn't respond the way maybe your old laptop did. So and I'm not really sure what the default is. Mark, do you know what it's set to? I have no idea.
I am not certain.
That's okay.
The default.
Yeah. So you'll want to click on that and see. You'll want to go to your system preferences and just see. But here's a zoomed in screenshot at the bottom here where it says click with 2 fingers. So that it means you're going to, click with 2 fingers on that trackpad, or if you change it to click in the bottom right corner or click in the bottom left corner, you decide what that secondary click is. And I've always called the secondary click a right click, but it's where you get that secondary context specific menu that many of you use to copy and paste and things like that. So you'll want to click on that and see these options and choose. Now, one thing that's interesting, this window doesn't have a save button. So if you make any adjustments, you just kind of X out of it or go back and adjust something else in the system preferences. So Mark, talk about this tap to click option. You said you like to turn that on, correct?
Certainly, yes. The tap to click makes it really easy to be able to engage with the system and quickly, without doing a physical click on the trackpad, you can actually engage this by turning on tap to click. And some of you will probably see this as you navigate under trackpad and you go to that first tab with point and click. You'll see tap to click, and turn that, when you engage with that, it actually allows you to just simply touch a document or touch a folder, and that will actually interact and allow you to eliminate the element of the physical click of the trackpad.
Gotcha. Just more of a tap. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out on my laptop. Love that. So those are some of my favorites. I do want to ask, let me minimize this. Mark, I know the other day we were talking about one of our favorites, and it's where when you're navigating the Finder, because we didn't have this in the slideshow, but let's think about this. It's where you show the path, because I know a lot of our Windows users, like let's say I went into the documents folder and I went into another folder and another folder. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I'm lost. Where am I? That doesn't appear here by default. How do I turn that on?
Correct. So if you'd like to see the path of where a folder actually resides or is nested, what we want to do with the window that you have open, that's great, Sarah. You just want to select the type of view that reflects being able to see the path. So at the top of that window, you'll see the small squares, which are let's go down a little bit. Yeah, over the window, and you want to click that second tab, which is actually a list view. And that list view will allow you to be positioned so that you can actually see the folders at the bottom. So at the very top of the menu, when you go there, Sarah, just click on View. And then you'll see Show Status Bar in the menu. And if you engage that, that should show you the status. And if you go to the path, that shows you the
Awesome.
path of the folders.
Awesome. So the status is this spot, and I know y'all it's tiny on my screen, but it shows one item is selected. So that would be awesome if I had like maybe a folder of images and I had selected, maybe I knew there was 82 images in my folder. It would tell me how many images I have selected. Just gives me that status down here. But if I navigate to like a folder inside of a folder inside of a folder, well, I can see now in the path. So Mark's showing us both things. So I would turn both of those on, in fact. Oh, okay, here I am in my documents folder, in my test folder, and it shows you exactly where you are. I would absolutely turn that on. That way you don't get lost in a digital world, in a digital sense. And then one thing I like to do, this is kind of hidden, but it's kind of a little secret, but you can double click down in the path. So if I double click the documents folder, it pulls up the documents folder. It navigates me there. So I love that. So that's why I like that path. Thank you, Mark. These were great. Moderators, what are they liking? What's their favorite so far? We'll have to get them to tell us what their favorite tip is. While they're responding, I am going to go ahead and pull up our little slideshow here and talk to you guys about some helpful resources. So this was presented by Educational Technology along with a lot of helpful people behind the scenes, and then of course our amazing teachers. But I do want to share some helpful resources to continue your learning, whether it be about Mac or something else. We have the KIC website, and I hope everybody on here knows about it already, but if you don't, it's at www.kellerisd.net/KIC. And there you'll find buttons and pages to all your favorite apps that we use here in Keller. So definitely check that out. Also, another way to get there is if you're here in the district and you're watching, we have KCloud, of course. Well, KCloud houses a button, and if you just search for EdTech KISD, it'll pop up, looks like this. And there you can access KIC, and then you can also access a couple of other things I want to show you. So you can access our blog, Digital Tips, Tricks, and Tools, the award-winning blog that we have. You can also find out how to follow us on our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and then of course on YouTube. This video, as well as many others, are found on our YouTube channel. And then, of course, our parent support. We have some documents, some helpful videos, things like that, that are out there for our parents, because I know it's hard navigating all these new digital resources that we're using these days. So I've given everybody a little time to think and reflect. What was your favorite tip so far? Moderators, did they have a favorite? I'm putting them on the spot, aren't I? Let's see. Let me see if I can find out myself. Seems like they liked a lot of the keystrokes. Am I right?
Yes, lots of keystrokes, emojis, the Command-Shift-5 screen recording. That one was a big hit.
Yes. And in fact, that's fairly new, correct? I think that's fairly new, Mark. I can't wait to start using that one as well. I've used screenshots for many years, but now the ability to do a screencast, there's no reason we can't show our students, what we want them to do and what it's going to look like. So I love that. All right. Hard to choose? Love it. Well, I hate to tell you guys, but we're going to keep you waiting on our mystery topic. Our next Kickstart Your Learning has not been determined yet. There are just too many things that we want to do, so we're going to have to pick one. It will be April 28th. So hot off the press, it's not even in my slide yet. So April 28th is currently the plan for our next Kickstart. You want to check it out because that will be the last one of the year. And then of course they will all be housed on our YouTube channel. So definitely check that out, make plans to join us. And the resource you've been waiting for, many of you are here for some credit, I'm sure, would love the credit since you've stayed. Our form for EQ credit is at bit.ly/Kickstart 2021. bit.ly/Kickstart 2021. The moderators will put that in the chat for you guys, but I'll leave it up here for a second. Any questions that we need to address? Christy, Tony, Laura, Aaron?
No questions in the chat, but another vote came in for that split screen function. Somebody really liked that.
Yes, we have our multitaskers out there. And maybe someday we'll do one more on iPads, but the iPads now have the split screen function as well. So you'll want to watch a video. Well, I had to watch the video to figure it out. It's a little tricky, so you have to kind of tap and hold and do it just right, but it is pretty cool to be able to see your notes on one side and your website on another, and it's really great for research. So for those iPad users, thank you so much, teachers. Michelle, Brittany, I really appreciate you guys being on today and helping our teachers navigate their Macs a little bit easier. I know we're always learning, and we can't do it all in 45 minutes, but we certainly got some of our favorites over to our teachers. And Mark, we know you're super busy managing the Macs in our district, so thank you. And Tony, Christy, Laura, Misty, Aaron, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Thank you guys for moderating. And we just hope to see everybody on April 28th for our next mystery topic, Kickstart Your Learning. Good night.